Hello, we are doing our very first three-part summer reading program by doing kits. And the first project for adults in the Genius of Birds is this Zentangle bird. This will be kind of sort of what your finished product will look like, depending on how you want to do your background and your colors. So this is the project that we're working on for the Genius of Birds, and it's supposed to be a seagull in flight. So here's what it's supposed to look like. Here is what your picture will look like if you choose not to do a background. And of course you can always choose all different kinds of colors and all different kinds of shapes, and you can use your Zentangle patterns in any way you wish. But this is kind of sort of what it will look like if you decide not to do a background. In your kit that's in your project bag, you have a blank seagull already drawn out with you with all of the different feathers and all the different aspects. You can choose to do this however you wish. Also, you may already do Zentangle and already may have some patterns in mind. But also in your kit, you have these patterns. You have pattern 1, that looks like this feathered piece. You have pattern 2 that's it almost looks like a leaf pattern. And then you have pattern 3 that's some lines and dots. You also have this pattern sheet that has some flourishes in the feather pattern, and this has some scroll work. And then these are the patterns that I use on the inside, the larger pieces of the seagull's body. So let me show you a little bit about how these patterns go together. Also in your kit, you have a pen. I went ahead and added a fine point black pen. They say there are no mistakes in Zentangle, that you can always take a line that you didn't intend to go there and switch it around and make it look better. So if you choose, what I did was I started out with a pencil pattern and then went over it with the black liner. But if you want to start out with that, you can go right ahead and start right with this. That's what I'm going to do to show you these patterns. So we're going to take a look at the first pattern here that ends up like this. So I'm going to turn this way so you can see what I'm doing. And the first thing that you're going to do in your feather pattern is to do kind of a half circle and then fill it in with your black marker. So you're going to do a half circle that's all filled in. And once again, it doesn't have to be perfect. You can always add to it. You can always take away from it. You can change it. You can add some swirls to it. The next thing in this step 2 in this pattern is to add some dots. You can make your dots close together or far apart. You can make your dots teeny tiny or larger. And then the next thing you're going to do is you're going to come from the center of that half circle and come straight down. I cannot draw a straight line, so I'm just kind of winging it. If you're one of these people that just has to have it straight, of course you could use a ruler. It's entirely up to you. Then what you're going to do is you're just going to start at the bottom and you're going to start adding slanted lines up. Once again, depending on how you are with your lines, you may have a straight line, you may have a crooked line, your lines may ziggle-zaggle like mine do, but you're going to go all the way up. And then on the other side, you don't have to match these lines, but if you want to make them match, you can. If you want to purposefully not make them match so that they kind of go in between, you can do that as well. And once again, when you add your color to this, and this is the pattern that I used on this part of the seagull's feathers. Once again, what I did was I did a light color here and a dark color here and a pale color here. You could do these all one colors, you could do multicolors, whichever, but that's how that pattern looks upside downwards, and that's how it looks the other way. On this one, because it was smaller, I had a tendency to do smaller lines, so it looked a little better. But once again, you can do it however you need to. The next pattern looks a little bit like a leaf. What you're going to do is start with a straight line, then you're going to add these little flourishes to the side. So we're going to go with a straight line down, or as straight as you want to make it. This one in particular is not going to show up so much if you don't do a straight line, because the parts of the floral are going to disguise it. Then you're going to come about right here in the top and come and do just kind of like a teardrop shape that comes back and comes back down into this. And then you're going to go underneath. And the next one is going to come up just underneath of that one and down. And then you're going to come underneath, come back up, come just down over that. If you get these places in here, just take your black pen and fill them in. Come down, follow your lines, go back, and come down. Start here, go up, follow your lines, come back down, and then finish filling in the bottom. Then you'll do the other side the same way. I usually start at the top and start about right here and come around like that. Then you can fill in like that. You can start at the top and come around like that. So you can fill in and kind of match your sides if you want your sides to match. It might be, and notice that when I did this, my line wasn't exactly in the center. So I have some point, this side is a little larger than the other side, and that's okay. That's the way Zentangle is. It's just okay. Any way you want to do it. This is that part that I did. Let me turn it this way so you can kind of see. And I made one side one color and one the other. And so if it's a little off, and then I filled in the edge with some gray. So that's that pattern. The next pattern kind of, to me, looks like a column pattern. And so for that one, what you do is you start with this line, then add this one. Add your dots. You might want to do swirls in here. You might want to do squares or diamonds, and then you just add your other lines going down. So here's your top curve. Here's the curve underneath of it that follows it. Here are the dots that I added. I'm going to make these a little bit bigger so you can see them better. I didn't do many dots in there. And then I kind of turn it to the side to draw my lines. Once again, if you're someone who wants straight lines, you could use a ruler. That would be entirely up to you. You don't have to make them straight. Once again, because particularly when you get into these long sections like this, mine get really, really wiggly. But you're going to be able to disguise a lot of that with however you color or however you choose to decorate. And once again, in Zentangle, this is supposed to be kind of meditative, that you're just doing lines. If you wanted to, you could go in and add some zigzags. You can make these patterns any way you want to. You could do all kinds of things to disguise your crooked lines like mine. But once again, when you color them in, this is how it looks this way, and this is how it looks in this way, and I'd use 3 different colors. And particularly when you're going smaller like this, you don't notice as much when your lines are close together and when your lines are a little wiggly like mine were. Okay, the next Zentangle pattern is a super duper easy one, once again. And if you'll notice, mine is not straight down to the middle, it's just a straight line. Then you do a curve on this side, a curve on this side, and then you finish with a curve here and a curve here. So you're going to go, and I'm going to go this way right now. Maybe I'll do a little better with the straight line. There we go. That is a little better. Okay, and then you just do, you can start at the bottom and do your curve line, and then do the curve line at the top. I find it easier if I move the paper a little bit. It makes it easier for me to engage and make the lines match a little better. But once again, that's all there is to that one. And in the burr that I did, that's this pattern right here. I also added a little line in the middle and added some little lines here and there. That's up to you. But that's basically the pattern that I have there. Okay, the next one, this is what I used on the bird's tail feathers. I put dots down the middle, and then I just did a swirl that comes up. So, decide how many dots you want to do. You can do as many or as few. I make my dots kind of big. That way I can tell, people can tell exactly where the swirl starts. And so you just start here, and you kind of make a gigantic, skinny C that swirls around. You bring it up, you touch the side, you come around, and you swirl it up. Bring it up, come around, do the swirl, come up. So it's just like a really skinny C. And in the tail feathers, that's what I did there. I made these really small. This here in the middle, I did them forward and back, and here I just added this line. Now, this is the section we're going to do next. This is just a large piece. What I did with this, I kind of played with it. It's like they call it a teardrop or a water drop that has a swirl. But this is how I started it. I started it with a backwards C, kind of like the one that we just made, only did it backwards. Then I added the teardrop, then I added a big dot. Then I just added some flourishes to the dot, and then some dots all around. So, you're going to, I'm going to do it inside this, even though it would be a lot larger. So you're going to do a swirl like this, and then you're going to do a drop, kind of like a teardrop that goes there. Then you're going to add a dot. You might want to make a square. You might not even want to put this dot. Then I just added some flourishes like this to it, and then I just put all kinds of dots around, some big, some small. I fill them in just to kind of fill that space. But you might have something else that you really like to do. Maybe you like to do little swirls like this that you would want to fill that large space in. The idea is to take the space and fill it in as best you can. Now, with the feet and legs, these are just diamond shapes I did, and these are just little bumps I did on his legs. I chose not to do anything to his head, but the more I look at it, particularly when you go to the finished piece, let me show you that. The finished piece, it kind of stands out. I don't know, you might want to soften it some. Now, at this point, once you get all of your patterns done, then you just start. You start using your patterns. I did the same pattern all the way across. You can decide. You might want to do the same pattern on the whole design. That's entirely up to you. But after you put your designs on, then you're going to want to color it in any way you want. I used markers. You could use crayons. Then you need to decide, do I want to do a background or not? Your background could be anything. You could leave it like this. But what I did here is I used some watercolor paint, and I ran everybody's on watercolor paper. And what I did was I thinned it down really, really thin, and I would put a dot and then put some water on it. I put my water on first to wetten the area. Then I would put a dot of the pigment color and kind of let it bleed around. I used a dark blue, a light blue, and a brown in there to kind of pick up the colors. And I was thinking of the seashore and all the colors that were in the sand and the air. So that's what I used to put around him. Now, you might want to do just a plain blue. You might want to leave it blank. That's entirely up to you. So that is our project for the Genius of Birds for Adults and Zentangled Bird.